All right, everybody, back, brand new Friday review. Can't wait to share with you the new research of the week. We've got one specifically on improving thyroid hormones using only one ingredient from nature, just 3 ounces a day. Pretty amazing to be able to see this research. It worked in 100% of cases. A small study, but certainly worth noting for anybody out there with thyroid-based issues, including Hashimoto's. The second study I wanted to bring you is on what to do if you have to take antibiotics and it affects your stomach, it affects your gut, and it's causing loose stool. So many people should just keep this on hand for themselves or their children. I know we do inside of my household, even though we don't use antibiotics. What is important is that if you ever needed to in a life-saving condition, well, you're already ready to go. Okay, and then after that, I want to share with you, I always give you the Personomics tip of the week, which we'll go over, but after yesterday's show, really important that I give you a quick recap on that. Hopefully everybody tuned in, but you can't miss this one because a lot of people feel like they're getting long COVID or they're getting this post-viral anti-inflammatory syndrome, and I need to explain this, so I want to give you a quick refresher, and then I want to make sure that you tune into yesterday's show. All right, well, let's go over that. If you haven't been tuning in this week, we're going to go over those shows, but before I say that, I want to share this. Not a lot of people know this, but we were basically getting banned all over YouTube for talking about things such as cancer, natural cancer-based remedies, etc. And it wasn't good. So we were only able to essentially get one more strike, and then we were totally kicked off of YouTube, even though, we just try to put out unbiased work, which is the truth. So here's what we did. We moved our daily podcast, the Cabral Concept, over to its own channel, and that is now at youtube.com/at the Cabral Concept podcast. All right. So we would love you to tune in every day on YouTube to its own channel now. That's just youtube.com/at the @ symbol, the Cabral Concept podcast. And you'll be able to find the daily shows there. We've always had just such a great YouTube based community. And I know a lot of people wrote in saying, where's the show? Where'd the show go? Well, on my regular channel at Stephen Cabral on YouTube, I'm now putting out exclusive YouTube only videos. They're just about 10 minutes long, but you won't find them anywhere else. So definitely check them out, and they become quite popular, especially the one we've done on an alternative to statins and actually works far better based on the research. All right, let's get into the previous shows for this week. So Monday's show, you're not overworked, you're overstimulated, and what to do about it. So Mindset and Motivation Monday show. Keep in mind, everybody works hard. There's no doubt about it. But when you're doing the work that you love, it doesn't seem like that much work, right? A lot of times it's just we're overstimulated, too much going on. I give you exactly what it may be and then what we can do about it. None of us are going to be perfect, but this should help. On Tuesday's show, we went over, would you pass the presidential fitness test? Now, again, this has nothing to do with politics or your particular views. This goes back to the 1950s. And I give you the classic presidential fitness test. Would you pass it? Check it out. On Wednesday, we went over why your body is blocking fat loss. Really important. A lot of people want to lose weight for health-based reasons, and they should be able to. So I go over in depth what might be blocking you. Basically, there's 5 main things, not all the different hormones, the things I talked about last week, but I would say a level above that you should be looking at. And then yesterday, and we're going to touch on this just in a second, so we'll kind of flow right into it, is the new virus that is spreading rapidly and has been for about the last 8 weeks. So it is a new form. I shouldn't say that it's new. So it's the H3N2 flu virus. All right. So I'm going to flow right into this. Would typically be my product review, but this is more of a public safety knowledge and update on this. But it's called subclade K. And so it's a different variation of it that is essentially doing this. It is it's almost a doubling in severity, a doubling in length that it takes in terms of recover, and then a doubling in the inflammation that's set in after you get the flu. So I go in depth yesterday on the show, and that was episode 3653. So StephenCabral.com/3653. And again, you could watch it on YouTube or watch it on my own website as well. Why this is important though, and again, I'm not going to go, yesterday was about a 15-minute show. So here's the thing that you should know though. A lot of people believe that they have COVID, they've got some other upper respiratory based virus. I get it. It honestly does not necessarily matter whether it is COVID or whether it is the flu or it is another virus. And again, I'm not demeaning it at all. And I talk about, I actually got this and it was brutal. I'm not going to deny that. And what I want to share with you is that the virus and how viruses work in the human body, you need to stop the replication. So what we need to do is build up our immune system, right? Strengthen our immune system, immediately begin to work on it. And then even after it is gone, keep in mind, this can actually stay contagious. This virus is a little bit different, 8 to 10 days, pretty wild. I mean, that's a long contagion period. All right, so then after that, what do we need to do? Post-viral or post-virus, what we actually need to do is calm down the immune response. Because remember, like you just mobilized an army of white blood cells. And what we need to do after that is not have them stay elevated where they're causing additional inflammation in the body. Once the virus has been contained, broken down, not allowed to replicate anymore, and your immune system has now won, what we need to do is squelch that inflammatory based response. And so I go over all of that yesterday. I really talk about how, sleep, good nutrition, not over-exercising during this period of time, trying to reduce stress as much as possible, certain nutritional supplements to help with oxidative stress, because it really ages the body during these viral-based periods. What you can do about that. I tell you exactly what I did, specifically myself. And so, again, I just wanted to give you this public safety announcement. A lot of people think it is COVID, but I'll tell you right now, doesn't matter necessarily whether it's COVID or this. You don't treat it differently from a natural health perspective, because we know that what we need to do is build up our own immune system. And I talk about that again on yesterday's show, episode 3653. If this interests you, go and check it out. If this was enough of a summary, perfect. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, Personomics tip of the week. Every single week, what I want to do is bring you a quick tip from the book. If you haven't read the book yet, you can find it just anywhere on Amazon, all over the world, or personomics.io/book. All right, so what I wanted to share with you today for Personomics tip of the week is that before anything ever goes wrong on your lab test, that means the blood work with your PCP, your body's going to be giving you signals ahead of time. In Personomics, I talk about 5 of those signals, okay? One of them is energy. At some point potentially in your life, your energy levels may drop. They may drop all of a sudden due to a virus. So for example, I now always have good energy. But when I got this particular H3N2 virus, my energy levels were wiped and I couldn't believe it, because that is not who I am. That is not what I built my body back up to be. And I was exhausted. I was tired. That inflammation from all the war zone that was going on in my body, from my white blood cells to overtake this virus, was strong. And obviously my genetics, if you've heard my show before, I have horrible genetics in terms of inflammation. Really not good, right? So what I do is I try to work with that, of course. But energy is a signal that something is off. If it's gradual decline that happens with a lot of people, we have to understand is that it's not a normal part of getting older. It's not. You should have good energy. Unless you are in your 80s or 90s, and again, even then it can be helped. It is not just like, oh, we're just getting older. What does getting older really mean? Well, you can get older when you're in your 20s. You can get older like I was at 17 years old when I was really sick, right? That's getting older. No doubt about it. My biological age in my early 20s was probably like 60 something years old. I'm not exaggerating. And I know it was because I don't know it was at that age, but when I first started doing the lab tests in my early 30s, it was so high, my biological age. It was terrible. Now my biological age is in my early 30s. And so you can change your body. Your genetics are not your destiny. And whatever disease you have right now can be reversed without a doubt. There's just no doubt about that. But energy is a great sign as to whether your body is balanced or not. Are your hormones balanced? Your mitochondria, your blood sugar levels, your nutrients. So remember, your body will give you signs that it's at a state of dis-ease, even if there's not a diagnosed disease yet. Look at energy and the other 4 signals I talk about in Personomics. They will help be your guide before your body actually gets a diagnosable disease, when you can do something about it. Okay. First research study of the week that I want to bring you is on probiotics that will help with antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Now, in my family, we have a rule. No antibiotics unless it is a life-saving condition. Because although antibiotics absolutely do help and work to save lives from bacterial-based infections. Remember, let me just note this. A lot of people taking it for the H3N2 flu that I just talked about. It's a virus, not going to work on the virus. It will work on a post-viral secondary bacterial infection, but not on a virus. But people are being prescribed antibiotics like I was for my entire childhood for viruses when really that is not going to work. And it affects the gut. And it affects the gut in so many different ways. It wipes out a lot of the bacteria in the gut. And unfortunately, this imbalance can lead to diarrhea. And there is an antibiotic-associated diarrhea, and it prevents people sometimes from even using the antibiotics, which if they need them, they need to take them, but also causes massive gut-based issues on the back end, meaning once you're done with the antibiotics, you're left with all these digestive issues, sometimes like taking GLP-1s, right? Unfortunate side effect. So what do we want to do? Well, if you have to take, you or a child has to take antibiotics, well, first make sure that it's bacterial-based and not viral-based. All right, and then you have to take it. There are two specific probiotics that we know works. The second one isn't even a probiotic, but it's what we use in our practice, and it has the best clinical literature around it. All right, the first one is Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. Great strain of a bacteria that has been shown to be helpful with antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Okay, what's the second one? What do we use in our practice, and what do we use now for 16 plus years? It is called Saccharomyces boulardii. And the literature specifically states, when you give an antibiotic, you should give Saccharomyces boulardii. So why don't doctors do it? Very simple, very straightforward. It's not a prescription. You can't get it as a prescription. It is a natural supplement. And it's not exactly a probiotic, because probiotic means good bacteria, or pro-bacteria, right? Probiotic, right? Pro-life. And so what does that mean? Well, it is a non-pathogenic yeast. So you might have Candida albicans in your gut, and you're like, I don't want more Candida albicans. I don't want more yeast in my gut. It's supposed to be there, but I don't want it overgrown. Exactly. Saccharomyces boulardii, which is not the same as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It is Saccharomyces boulardii. Saccharomyces boulardii goes in, and what it does, it takes up place in your gut so that it doesn't allow for bacterial overgrowth. Now, here's what happens, and it's very helpful. After about 2 weeks, the Saccharomyces boulardii, which has taken hold and basically a placeholder, goes away. But at that point, you should also then be taking, after your antibiotics, something like the Clean Gut probiotic, which has the Saccharomyces boulardii, and other probiotics to then put healthy gut bacteria back into your gut. So what do we use? I'll tell you exactly what we do. Again, I can't give you medical advice, medical advice, medical cures, medical diagnosis. We use 5 billion, which is just one capsule, of Saccharomyces boulardii upon waking and before bed. For children, we only do it once. That's it. Very simple, very straightforward. If you start taking antibiotics right away, you can begin taking that at the same exact time. And the difference between Saccharomyces boulardii and a probiotic is that it doesn't even matter so much if you take it at the same time as the antibiotic, because it's not bacteria, it's yeast. And an antibiotic kills bacteria, not yeast. You can still take it 6 hours away. It's not an issue. A lot of times that's what's recommended, but we haven't really seen a particular issue, especially you take it upon waking, and most people are taking the antibiotics with food. That was kind of in-depth, but hopefully that was helpful. Really great studies on that. I'm going to link up the study, of course, at stephencabral.com/3654, where all of today's show notes will live. All right. Research number 2, of course, this is a clinical research study published on PubMed. I was able to find you the full article, so not just the abstract for people who really want to dig in. But there was an interesting study. And this was done, I think it was done like 5 or 6 years ago. It was done in a small group of people. I've been waiting for a follow-up on it, but no follow-up has been done. And lo and behold, it's because here's what worked for these individuals with low thyroid and Hashimoto's. They were given something called aloe vera. Aloe vera gel is a very inexpensive nutritional supplement that literally comes from a plant. You might even have an aloe vera plant in your house. Remember, don't ever eat the outside of the aloe vera plant. It is the gel that we consume for the benefits. How much did they take in order to get these exceptional results that I'm about to share with you? 3.4 ounces, 100 mLs. That's it. They took 3.4 ounces. That is all. Now, again, people might say like, oh, well, I'm going to do that instead of taking a supplement. Taking aloe vera separately is a supplement. You're supplementing your regular nutrition. There's nothing wrong with that. When you drink green tea, it's a supplement to your diet. There's nothing wrong with these things, right? They're good supplements. So here's the nice thing. is that, but again, I always want to be unbiased. This was only done with 30 women. And I think they split them with 15 and 15. So 15, they were giving nothing. This was not randomized, right? Because the 15 didn't get it. 15 women who didn't get any aloe vera knew they weren't getting any aloe vera, right? So this was not necessarily a randomized control study, but it was a comparative study. And so what they did was they gave 15 of these individuals 3.4 ounces of aloe vera per day. I would probably take it upon waking. And another note is that these individuals were not on thyroid-based medication, but they did have an elevated TSH. All of them came in with an elevated TSH above a 4. And at the end of the study, and the study was for 9 months, what they found was this. All of the individuals, meaning 100% of the 15 individuals who took aloe vera daily, it did not say other things that they did, but this was the common theme, reduced their TSH to below a 4. So should we have more studies done on this? Yeah, I think that would be amazing. Will more be done? Most likely not, unless it's by companies on their own who do this, like Equalife, etc., who like to look at the clinical research. But again, all of this is quite expensive in order to be able to complete, to study, to get the research assistants on hand, etc. But I'll tell you this, that aloe vera does help with overall immune reactivity. It does help with potential inflammation and signaling. And so this certainly wouldn't be the only thing that I do with low thyroid and Hashimoto's, but it's certainly one thing now I would add to those specific protocols. All right, hopefully this was helpful, everybody. I'm gonna link up all the research at stephencabral.com/3654. And that will be all the research notes, everything I have. Make sure you tune in to yesterday's show, 3653, all about the H3N2 subclade K and what you can do about it. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with our Cabral host calls answering our community's questions. Take care.